Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh and this is your stimulus check update for Saturday, July 11th. I hope everyone is off to a great start to their weekend so far. In this video, I'll be discussing both the first and second stimulus checks, including what Steven Mnuchin has to say about the second stimulus package, which I think will be very good news to most of us. I'll also be discussing unemployment, the Paycheck Protection Program, the EIDL grant, and then I'll be wrapping up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. But first, if you wouldn't mind real quickly liking this video, giving me a big thumbs up, it really just helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of pushing this video out to other viewers like you, and hopefully helping other people like you as well. Additionally, leave a comment in the comment section below letting me know whether or not you've even received your first stimulus check yet or not, because unfortunately there are still millions of Americans who still haven't even received their first stimulus payment, even though we're already talking about a second round of stimulus checks coming within the next couple of months. So let me know in the comment section below if you've even received your first stimulus check yet or not. All right, so I'm gonna start this video out with some first stimulus check updates. If you haven't yet received your first stimulus check, the next wave of direct deposits are set to go out on next Wednesday, July 15th. So be checking your bank accounts next Wednesday on July 15th if you haven't yet received your payment. And in the meantime, continue checking the payment portal. You should receive an update within the payment portal, also letting you know that there should be a direct deposit on July 15th. And let me know in the comment section below if you're already receiving a pending direct deposit date of July 15th as well. Also, just another reminder, if you are an expat living outside the United States, the IRS has mentioned that the latest you should receive your direct deposit is July 24th. So if you haven't yet received your payment, that is some very good news. You've been waiting a very long time. So if you do have a US-based bank, you should not receive your direct deposit later than July 24th. So that's coming up very, very soon. Now, unfortunately, if you do not have a US-based bank, unfortunately, the IRS is not going to be able to directly deposit your payment. Instead, it's going to take a little bit longer, unfortunately, because they're going to have to mail the check in the mail instead of directly depositing your stimulus payment. And for the rest of you guys that are still waiting, I'm incredibly sorry. I know it's extremely frustrating, but you will eventually receive your payment if you are eligible. So as long as you're not being claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax returns, and as long as you don't have something like past due child support that could potentially offset your stimulus payment, you will eventually receive a date and you will eventually receive your payment. Also, please make sure that you filed a tax return within the last 2 years, or if you receive Social Security benefits, make sure that you started receiving those Social Security benefits before 2020, because if not, you would be required to fill out the non-filers tool. Now, if you started receiving Social Security benefits before 2020, or if you filed a tax return within the last 2 years, then no action is required on your part to receive your stimulus payment. Okay, moving right along to some second stimulus check updates. In a recent interview on CNBC, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin let it be known that we're not going to be as generous in this upcoming stimulus bill as we were in prior stimulus bills. Instead, Mnuchin said, just like we've been hearing from McConnell, we can expect this next stimulus bill to be a bit more targeted. Much of the focus on this segment centered around stimulus checks, the Paycheck Protection Program, and unemployment. When Mnuchin was asked about the Paycheck Protection Program and its viability of being in the next stimulus bill, he did say that the PPP was bipartisan, meaning that both the Democrats and the Republicans wanted it to be in the next stimulus bill, but also that they both wanted it to be a little bit more targeted, meaning that those larger businesses who probably don't need it as much as the smaller businesses do, probably wouldn't be receiving it. As many of you can probably remember, in the first round of the PPP, there were many large businesses who most likely didn't need it taking advantage of this program. Mnuchin did say that he would deal with those companies who did not need the loan and those companies that were taking advantage of this program. Mnuchin did mention though that for the most part, most of the companies that did receive the PPP were honest, hardworking companies, and most likely they won't have to repay that loan. Mnuchin was then asked some questions about unemployment, and he said that from the beginning he knew there were some issues with that $600 federal weekly boost, since he knew that some people were going to actually receive more money with that boost and sitting at home on unemployment than they were actually working at their prior jobs. A recent study actually showed that 2/3 of workers laid off are receiving more than their prior earnings because of the expanded benefits. Mnuchin said that was a technical fix and they plan on fixing that in the next stimulus package. He wants to make sure that people have incentive to work. So by him saying that, I think we can safely imply that they may keep the unemployment benefits around, but that may be cut in half from perhaps $600 per week to $300 per week. Mnuchin even mentioned that there are some companies that are even having a hard time hiring employees just because of the enhanced federal unemployment benefits. So some people are going to be receiving more money sitting at home on unemployment than they would working at the actual jobs. And I guess you could say that that might be an issue that the pay at that job isn't high enough if you can make more staying at home on unemployment. That could be one argument, that the businesses simply aren't paying enough money. And another argument could be that the federal unemployment benefits are simply too much. And that's the argument that the Republicans are stating right now. Mnuchin also said that if there is another federal unemployment boost in the next stimulus package, that an employee would receive no more than 100% of what their former wage was. He also mentioned that if people do have jobs, he wants those people to return to work, and that the federal unemployment boost was meant for those people in those hard-hit sectors that had to close down, and they were unemployed because of that. Now, I'm curious of your all's opinion. Do you think that people are simply sitting at home because they're making more on unemployment, or do you think it's more of because of the economy and people struggling to find work? Let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are on that. Now, when Steven Mnuchin mentioned the possibility of a second round of stimulus payments, he did say that the White House supported direct stimulus payments to individuals, but he did not mention how much the next stimulus payment could possibly be for. Now, we've all heard Donald Trump come out and say that he wants to be even more generous than the Democrats and he wants to give more than $1,200 in stimulus payments. But we've been kind of receiving a little bit of mixed messages as another Republican, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, has been throwing around income numbers such as $40,000, leaving some people and some analysts to believe that he wants the income to be capped at $40,000 and less for people to be receiving stimulus payments. Some Republicans, simply put, want these next stimulus checks to be more targeted. Now, me personally, I'm not reading too much into that $40,000 number. McConnell just simply came out and said the people that were hit the hardest made less than $40,000 per year, and that's absolutely true. Studies show that people who made less than $40,000 per year were laid off from their jobs at a greater rate than people who made more than $40,000 per year. And he never came out and directly said only people who receive less than $40,000 per year will receive a stimulus payment. He just made a statement that people who made less than $40,000 per year were hit the hardest. Steven Mnuchin also mentioned that he recently had a productive talk with Mitch McConnell and that they're going to be working together with the White House to get a bipartisan bill passed. Mnuchin also made note that it's a priority to have legislation passed by July 20th, which ironically enough is also the date that the Senate will be returning to Washington from their 2-week recess. Now, since the extended unemployment program does end on July 31st, it is extremely crucial that they do pass the next piece of legislation before July 31st. Otherwise, we're going to have millions of Americans unemployed without receiving that extra unemployment benefit. And not only does it hurt those people and those workers personally and their families, but it's also going to be a huge hurt to the economy as well. Congress really needs to work together to get this next stimulus bill passed. This is extremely crucial. And if you haven't yet already, you can actually call your U.S. Senator at 202-224-3121. Let them know how important getting the next stimulus bill passed is for you. You may not think you can make a difference, but believe me, you definitely can. Okay, and just another quick reminder for anyone who has any type of side hustle or small business, no matter how small or big it is, you are definitely eligible for the EIDL grant. Now, these funds are going to be running out very, very quickly, so I would recommend that you do apply today. In the description box below, I will leave a link where you can apply for this grant. Remember, it is $1,000 per employee up to 10 employees. And you might say, well, I don't have any employees. I just sell on eBay. Am I eligible for this grant? Yes, you are, because you are the employee in this case. So you would be eligible for a $1,000 grant. So if in any way, shape, or form you were impacted by this pandemic, and let's face it, pretty much all of us were impacted by this pandemic, so most likely you were, just apply for this grant. And if you have any questions whatsoever on whether or not you would be eligible, just apply. The worst thing that can happen is they would just deny your grant, and the best thing that would happen is that you would receive $1,000. It's basically free money, so you might as well apply for it, and it only takes a few minutes to apply. The application is very quickly, and I've seen a lot of comments in the comment section of my videos from people who received their grant within just a few days from applying. So definitely apply. If you have any hesitation whatsoever, just go ahead and apply. You have nothing to lose here. All right, so at this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and answer some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. And if you have any other comments or questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I do try to respond to as many comments and questions as I possibly can. And those comments and questions that I'm not able to get to, I do try to pick some of the more popular ones to answer in the next video in video form. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the first comment of today's video. That is from Wilbert. Wilbert says, are veterans getting another stimulus check? All right, thank you so much for that question, Wilbur. And yes, I would definitely assume that you will be receiving the next stimulus check if you were eligible for the first stimulus check. So as long as you weren't claimed as a dependent or have something like past due child support that could potentially offset your stimulus payment, you should be eligible. Stephen Mnuchin even came out recently and said that everyone who is eligible for the first stimulus payment will also be getting the second stimulus payment as well. So you should definitely be getting the second stimulus payment if the next stimulus bill does get passed. All right, so the next comment of today's video is from Jill. Jill says, will people on SSI get a check? And how much? All right, thank you so much for that question, Jill. And just like the last question, just like Stephen Mnuchin said, everyone who is eligible for the first stimulus payment will also be eligible for the second stimulus payment as well. And I can definitely see that. Now, the next stimulus bill has not yet been passed, so stimulus checks aren't yet guaranteed, but it is a very bipartisan issue at this point. So the Republicans want more stimulus payments and the Democrats want more stimulus payments. So we're definitely going to see more stimulus payments if the next stimulus bill does get passed, which I think that it will before the Senate goes on their next recess. So you should be eligible for the next stimulus payment as long as you weren't claimed as a dependent and as long as you don't have something like past due child support that could potentially offset your stimulus payment. All right, so on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did enjoy the content in this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is completely free to do so and it's a great support to me. Also, if you would like to receive one free stock valued all the way up to $500 from Robinhood, feel free to claim that stock by clicking the link in the description box below. And even if you don't want to continue investing after that, you can always sell off your stock and withdraw the cash and transfer that cash to your bank account. It's pretty much free money. So on that note, I hope everyone has a fantastic Saturday. And until next time, I'll see you guys and I hope you have a great day today.